High in the dense wilderness of northern Montana, near the jagged peaks of Glacier National Park, stood an old, weather-beaten ranger cabin tucked between snow-covered firs. Living there alone was Everett Cole, a retired wildlife ranger in his late 60s, with a weathered face and quiet eyes that had seen too much and spoken too little. Everett had dedicated most of his life to protecting these lands, dismantling poachers' traps, nursing injured animals back to health, and guiding lost hikers to safety. Now, in retirement, he lived with only his two loyal dogs, Boone and Jasper, and spent his days clearing trails and chopping firewood. To him, silence wasn't loneliness. It was peace. One evening, as a bitter wind swept across the clearing and snow began to fall in soft drifts, Everett was sitting by the fire inside his cabin when he heard a guttural growl from outside. Deep, labored, and strangely human in its desperation, he grabbed his flashlight and cautiously stepped onto the porch, Boone and Jasper trailing close behind. There, just beyond the tree line, he saw a massive silhouette, too large to be a deer. As his beam cut through the falling snow, it illuminated a wild female grizzly bear. She was gaunt, her fur matted with frost and mud, and her breathing came in raspy huffs. But most alarming was the way she looked at him, eyes wide not with aggression, but pleading. She didn't charge. She didn't growl again. Instead, she dropped to her front legs and let out a low, wavering moan. Everett's instincts screamed danger, but another feeling overrode them, empathy. This wasn't a threat. This was a mother. The bear turned her head toward the dark woods, took a few shaky steps, and then paused, waiting. Everett understood. He strapped on his snowshoes, grabbed his med pack, a heavy jacket, and followed. The trek was slow, the snow now falling in thick sheets, but Everett kept pace. After nearly half a mile, they arrived at a small ravine half hidden by snowfall. There, caught in a patch of freezing mud, was a small grizzly cub, no more than a few months old. It was crying out, stuck chest deep in slush, too weak to move. The mother growled urgently and stepped aside, trusting Everett. He tied a rope to a tree trunk and climbed carefully down. The mud sucked at his boots, and the cub thrashed wildly, splattering him with wet earth. "Easy now," Everett whispered, gently wrapping the cub in a thermal blanket. After a tense few minutes of struggle, Everett lifted the cub and scaled back up the slope, his arms burning, his breath short. The mother bear moved forward slowly, nuzzled the cub with her nose, and turned to Everett with a long, deliberate blink. A thank you. The return walk was silent. Back at the cabin, Everett made a bed of wool blankets near the fireplace, where the cub could warm up. The mother lay just outside, eyes fixed on the door, neither approaching nor retreating. Throughout the night, Everett fed the cub warmed goat's milk and kept the fire blazing. Boone and Jasper, though wary, sat nearby as if they too understood this was no ordinary night. By dawn, the cub, now nicknamed Scout, was wobbling on its paws again. The mother, whom Everett named Mora after a nearby glacier, nudged the door with her snout. Everett opened it. She entered quietly, sniffed Scout, and for a moment, they simply lay there, mother and cub, safe and together. When the sun rose higher, Mora stood and turned toward the woods. Scout followed, but before disappearing into the snow-dusted trees, Mora paused, looked back at Everett one last time, and let out a low, soft sound, one Everett would never forget. In the weeks that followed, Everett sometimes saw their tracks in the snow around his cabin. Never too close, never too far. He would leave food near the tree lean, and each time it vanished without a sound. That spring, when the ice melted and wildflowers returned, Everett spotted Mora and Scout once more, healthy, strong, watching him from a ridge above the clearing. And in that quiet wilderness, where men and wild things rarely meet in peace, a promise had been made and kept.
Thank you for watching till the end. Please like and subscribe to support us.